This is my daughter, Moria Nagy, and she does volunteer work in this Nachusa Prarie. Moria, tell us about the Prarie. We are following my daughter Moria through the grasslands. Now we have turned off and she is going to go to an area where she will explain how the prairie is being restored. The Nachusa Grasslands is a 3,800-acre restored tall grass prairie near Franklin Grove in Lee County and Ogle County, Illinois. It is managed by the Concervency staff and volunteers. Most of the northern Illinois was tall grass prairie at the time of statehood in 1818. In the ensuing century, the vast majority of this prairie was plowed up for farmland. A nature conservancy planting process aimed at building and restoring tall grass prairie ecosystem in Illinois commenced in 1985. The first major land acquisition of 400 acres occurred in 1986. The Nachusa Grasslands planting process called for running up to 100 American bison on approximately 1,500 acres of the preserve. 30 bison were released in Nachusa Grasslands on October 2014. The bison were added to approximately 700 species logged at the prairie. In April 2015, free-range bison calves were born, adding to the hope that Nachusa herd could be managed as to be self-sustaining.
Over here to the left, you have what's called an oak savanna. This is where the oak trees meet the prairie. This is a natural oak stand that's being renovated or rejuvenated. The bison sometimes like to hang out under the trees, and the people at Nachusa Grasslands have to burn this area. The oak tree survives the burning, but it burns the underbrush so that you don't have too many trees growing close together. This is an oak savanna. To the right, we have prairie restored land that the organization has bought. The organization buys it from local farmers, and teams of volunteers and scientists seed it with a very specific composition of seeds for prairie grasslands. In the spring and fall, they also have to burn the prairie, which is a natural process that causes the seed to germinate in the spring. Restoring a prairie can take over 3 decades from farmland. What you're seeing here is probably a prairie plot that's around 10 to 15 years old after restoration. We see some beautiful prairie shooting star that's in bloom right now, dotted with some what's called blue stem grass. And the blue stem grass can get up to 7 feet high in the height of summer.
There's a herd of bison over by that water. There they are. getting a drink. Whole herd of bison. Now we are turning into the area where the visitor center is. Precious prairie, abundant life. The underground, all the animals that live underground. Prairie adaptations. Growth and rejuvenation. Fire under control. Bison contribution to the health of the prairie. Saving the last bison. Bison facts. It's the largest mammal in North America. Males, bulls weigh up to 2,000 pounds and can stand 6 feet high at the shoulder. Their top running speed is 35 miles an hour. Lifespan 15 to 20 years old. Their diet is grass. They have fur so thick that snow falling on it doesn't melt. Social behavior, matriarchal groups, grandmothers, mothers, young bulls and cows and newborn calves stay together. Mature bulls are loners except during mating season in July and August. Started with seeds and volunteers. In the late 80s, staff and volunteers began harvesting seeds from the prairie remnants of the grasslands. Since then, we have worked all kinds of weather to collect by hand tons and tons of seeds and hundreds of plant species. A living laboratory. After decades of restoration, the Nachusa Grasslands is starting to resemble a tall grass prairie as we imagined it 200 years ago. Their rare habitat depends on stewardship and harvest of plant seeds, maintain cycles of burns, recovery, control invasive weeds. Nachusa Grasslands today is a model restoration site, yet there is still much more to learn. There's the herd of bison down by the lake. This is my daughter, Moria Nagy, and she does volunteer work in this Nachusa Prairie. Moria, tell us about the prairie.
So what you're seeing here is we're at the visitor center, and it's an outdoor visitor center, but you can see that it's nicely shaded. There are porta potties that are quite nice. This is all brand new. The Nachusa Grasslands is part of the Nature Concervancy. It's an organization that has bought up multiple plots of farmland and restored them to the prairie, which is the natural state of Illinois. Illinois was known as the Prairie State. Unfortunately, with farming around from the 1800s to the mid-1900s, the prairie was decimated. So this organization is a nonprofit organization that raises money to both buy up the local farmland as well as restore it. And what we can see here at the visitor center is sort of a nice view of part of the grasslands, and this is often a place where the bison will come because there's a couple of ponds and some natural low areas that collect water. And so what you see are the bison. Now there are calves right now. The bison typically calve in early February, January. Hard to see them now. They might be a little more juvenile size. And bison are very social creatures. They often congregate in groups. Now, because the calves are young, it's mostly composed of females, young males, and calves. And the older bulls often might break off into small groups and socialize with each other. And this is one of the very few places that you can see bison in the natural habitat. What that means is these bison are treated as wild animals and they're left to range in over 100 acres of prairie. The bison were introduced to Nachusa a few years ago to help restore the prairie because the natural foraging of the bison, their eating habits, help to eat the weeds that we consider and allow for the prairie grasses to grow. So that is the Nachusa Grasslands Visitor Center.
And where can people look this place up online?
Search for Nachusa Grasslands in Illinois, and they can find all of that information as well as locations where they can donate online toward the effort. Again, not only restoring the natural prairie, but also fostering research surrounding prairie, bison, and all of those natural habitats.
Good. Thank you so much. This is very interesting. Thanks a lot, Moria. Now leaving Nachusa Grasslands, a natural conservancy. I want to give a big thanks to my daughter Moria for helping me narrate this video. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. And always stay crafty when coming to the Nachusa Grasslands Preserve in Illinois. Thank you for watching.